Hey, movie lovers, I'm Alan.
And I'm Paul. This is our guest appearance of Carter.
Welcome to Real Movie Grade.
Today we're going to be discussing Pacific Rim.
So, Pacific Rim, we touched on it in the initial review, the no spoilers review. This is the spoilers review. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet and don't want any spoilers, go ahead and click on the link above, and you will go to just our review, and you won't ruin the movie for yourself. With that said, let's dive into it. The first thing we're going to go over is the screenplay. I gave it a solid 0.
Really?
I did. There was no originality in the screenplay, I don't think. I feel like everything was, I knew what every line was going to be. With that, there wasn't really any good banter either. There was an attempt at banter.
Yes, I would definitely say John was attempting at the banter, but his supporting cast didn't do too well, except for, I would say, the little girl that was in there.
I thought, and that's a different category really, because that's casting, and I agree. I think the little girl was great, and I think John was great. The red herring bad guy, I thought she was really good. And then Charlie Day, he's always hilarious.
Yes, very much. So.
He plays a great wacko.
Yes, he does.
in a comic one, and he did a good job at that. Just the lines that they were given, they weren't original. So even though the characters had chemistry, the lines weren't there to make to really make them impactful. Whenever they went, when they were trying to cultivate the Starship Troopers vibe of the training camp. Whenever they, they walked in, we've seen that in a lot of films, and it didn't carry for me. I think it's because, the fun military hurrah banter, it was weak.
And I think a lot of movies are actually going to miss on that as far as screenplay goes, because the banter that we typically normally have in the military is pretty much going to be reserved for HBO. They really can't go into how we actually truly act around each other.
That's fair, but. Starship Troopers, what they were going for,
it worked.
That was there. But you're correct. This wasn't our movie, so
yes.
So there's that. That's the screenplay. What did you give it again?
I gave it a 3, and the reason I gave it a 3 was because I was looking for, and like you said earlier in our first video, we're two totally opposing views on this. I like the Japanese mecha genre style. I grew up watching anime, so if anybody out there wants to, go ahead and say something, go ahead. I love it. But I love that style of movie. The lines may not be the greatest of all, but I'm waiting for the action lines. Like, how are they reacting? How are they actually, working together? How does the banter go back and forth when they're actually fighting? Maybe not so much when they're just standing around. But the actual screenplay of the monsters moving through, or kaiju, whatever you want to call them, fighting the Jaegers, when the pilots were in there, they had that chemistry. Even though they hated each other on the outside, you could tell that they worked well as a team inside the machine when they were actually fighting for their lives. That
came across, but I would attribute that more to the performance and the casting. So,
okay.
All right, moving on. The pace, I gave it a 3. I thought that was actually average. I didn't, I felt like there wasn't really any wasted scenes, but it wasn't great. We did spend a little bit of lag time. They were still, I wasn't bored.
Yeah.
So they were right on the border.
Okay. I gave it a 4, mainly because I didn't expect in the beginning a little tiny scrapper coming out and fighting one of the actual Jaegers. So at the very beginning, it caught me. It kept going through. And yes, you did have a little bit of downtime, which is needed in movies. You can't just go action-pack, because I'm going to get bored if they continue doing that as well.
It's not a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Thank God. So there were those mixes and matches of action and downtime. The downtime, I felt that they did fill it pretty well, and the parts that were action were completely different from the first Pacific Rim, which is why I kind of gave it a little bit more, because in the first one there was so much downtime, it was insane.
So, yeah, while you're able to enjoy that new action with the downtime.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've covered that pretty well. We definitely hit casting already.
And that was my fault.
Well, no, I mean, it's, some of these things are overlapping, and
Yes,
it is hard to tell, if they had poor writing or if they had poor chemistry. And the majority of the actors are great. Just Scott Eastwood is a wet spaghetti noodle.
I 100% agree.
He's great looking, but
it's his jawline, definitely.
Yeah,
I definitely like his jawline. Yeah,
he's got good genes there.
Yeah, I have to say that. Yeah,
his acting style felt like from the era of his father.
Yes, he definitely felt like a spaghetti western.
Yeah.
I just went up there and tried to Dirty Harry a couple parts.
I see what you did there with my wet noodle. Next up is design. I gave it a 1 in design because this is a $150 million budget movie, and it didn't look to me like those. You couldn't trick me with any footage from that these robots or that the monsters were going through the streets of the cities.
That's actually why I gave it a 4 and dropped it down from what I was hoping it was going to be. Because like you said, when I was walking through the cities, more stuff's going to be moving around, stuff's going to be falling, and just a light tap of a foot is not going to set off stuff. I mean, these things, like, you look at a modern day tank, those things are 60 tons. These things
obviously have to weigh more than that, yeah.
They throw oil tankers around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when they walk, stuff is going to go flying. Buildings are not going to stay up. So I definitely 100% get that.
The street, tanks destroy a street when they drive on it, so obviously these would...
Exactly.
It would be gravel underneath them.
But what I did love was the attention to detail on the Jaegers themselves. Since it's not the dark theme of the original Pacific Rim, and we're looking at Uprising, the lighting was so much better. You could actually look at the details on the Jaegers and actually see like the nuts and bolts and stuff, which I truly loved. And I like how they kind of got rid of the little bit of the insanity from the first one that was inside the Jaeger pilot's area. They kind of toned it down a little bit, made it a little bit more realistic, which I enjoyed.
I have to say, your point about it being light in this one as opposed to the last two, the second one was low budget, so they just used fog to cover everything up, so they didn't have to do any design. I thought that design choice was good on this one, and you could convince me to knock it up a point in that category.
Oh, I'm glad I can.
So audio, it was clunky, and I don't really remember any of the songs from it.
I agree. I didn't. When I was doing this, I was like, I don't remember any of the songs.
Yeah.
So I had to knock it down for that because nothing was memorable in that aspect of it. The sound effects were pretty cool.
Yeah, to me, the audio should be its own character. So you said the sound effects were good to you. They carried. So what did you give it?
So I gave the audio design soundtracks the 3.
Okay, that's a fair score for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When plasma cannons are starting, I have no idea what they sound like. No one knows what they sound like. So I thought they kind of incorporated a pretty good imagination of what it would sound like. Some like you would think massive electric engines driving up to superheat something to blast out was kind of freaking cool.
Yeah, but was that sound completely enveloping? Did it overwhelm was it? I feel like yes, you're right. It should have overwhelmed the whole theater. Should have shaken the seats.
I don't know about shaking this. No, yeah, you're right.
I've never stood next to a rocket taking off, but that's how I would imagine it.
I'll digress and agree with you on that one.
Right.
That should have rocked the seats.
So the last two categories, we have the audio and the genre, or I'm sorry, the wow and the genre. I was not wowed. I gave it a 1. And then genre, I can skip over to that one because I don't have a. It fell in the middle of my expectations for the genre.
Okay, well, since
but you were the expert.
I'm
a
resident expert right now on Japanese mecha. So I grew up watching Gundam Wing and Voltron and stuff like that. I thought those were
saying words.
Man, these are
continue
classic shows. Okay, they're amazing. And I felt that the Pacific Rim, the first one when it came out, I was ready to be wowed because I wanted to see that real life stuff come into fruition for me. It didn't really happen on the first one. So dark, like I said, you couldn't see anything. This time, I could actually see the Jaegers. I could see the mecha point of it. I didn't really care too much about the 42 engines per muscle strand. I don't really care about that. I want to see the Jaegers. I want to see what they can do. And I definitely felt, especially on this one, the Jaegers moved a lot better. They weren't as clunky. And they just felt a little bit more fluid, but still robot-like. But they had more tools at their disposal to actually use. And it just felt so much better to actually see that. They weren't flying. Kind of disappointed in that. They should at least have rocket boosters,
They
except
did
for
fly at the end. That's how they got there.
not on their own. What happened to the foot rocket boosters that you see in almost every single Japanese mecha that you
That's
you
true,
watch?
but like I said, to me, this movie was it was the Thomas Rhett of mecha movies. They grabbed a bunch of different things. They grabbed the Starship Trooper thing to try to cultivate that vibe. Yeah. They grabbed Power Rangers, but I feel like would disagree with that that sentiment. But
just a little bit. I may give you some homework and have you watch some good old fashioned
All right,
Japanese
that is
anime.
a category that I'm not very versed in.
So the WoW I gave it was a 4. And the main reason was I could see the Jaegers, I could see them fight. And I'd have to say that Kaiju at the end, I didn't see those little robots that came flying out of the building. I thought they were just going to repair the Kaiju, not form them into one. That was pretty sick. Yeah, and then, standing over this.
New, but...
Well, maybe not new. But it was fantastic, and I loved it.
All right, well, I think we've pretty much beat this dead horse. So...
Yep.
Obviously, if this is a category that you're into, I think you're gonna like it. And if you do, join in the comments below. If you're a fan of this genre and you don't think this movie delivered for you, join the comments below.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, find us on Facebook and Twitter, and join in the comments below and let us know what you think on how we can improve the Real Movie Grade system.
What are you, an auctioneer? Hey, don't forget to watch the playlist to my left. What is Real Movie Grade? It's going to help you better understand the Real Movie Grade system.